Here we go again. Ironman's in hot water. Is their decision to split the Ironman World Championships and push half of the competitors out of Kona a huge mistake or the best thing for the sport? Right now, it's looking like a huge mistake. But let's talk about it. What's up, crew? Coach Dale here. For those of you new to the channel, I want to offer you a sweet virtual high five. And I hope that you return the favor by giving a high five to that subscribe button. Is there still a bell? For all I know, triathlon doesn't even exist in 2072. So recently, the CEO of Ironman, Andrew Messick, announced that they're going to be splitting the Ironman World Championships, and only half of the competitors will be staying in Kona. The other half will be somewhere else around the world. This is kind of mainly due to the fact that the Big Island doesn't really appreciate the 2 days of racing and closed roads and all around upheaval of their day-to-day. Plus, triathletes are a bunch of jerks. I don't know, I read that in a newspaper. But to get to that point, we have to Tarantino a little bit and see what got us here. Then you can make your own decision on whether this is a money grab or the best thing for the sport, the pros, and ultimately, who pays the bills? You. Over the last several years, WTC, which is Ironman's holding company, has been bought and sold a number of times. The problem with that is that each time an acquisition took place, the debt of the previous owners came with it, or the new owners got into more debt trying to build the brand beyond its bread and butter, Ironman races. During the last sale to Advance, who agreed to pay a whopping $730 million for WTC, guess what happened?
Global shutdown.
That's right, a global pandemic basically rendered a $730 million investment almost worthless. Obviously, it's not Ironman's fault, but the ensuing couple of years of low attendance or no races at all, along with some legal issues surrounding how they handled deferrals during the pandemic, it certainly put them on the back foot when things started to open back up. They had to cut a ton of staff, rework their negotiations and contracts with host cities. Not really a position you want to be in when your big money maker is mass participation events. So how do you drag yourself out of a hole when you essentially have to pay for the next year's worth of events with the last 2 years of really terrible cash flow? Increase prices across the board? Probably not the best idea when half your clientele is already ticked off at you for the way you handled the pandemic. You could increase costs to the pros. Yeah, they did that. They increased the pro license to like $1,250, but that's not going to move mountains. There's just not that many pros. But increase the price and the number of spots to the 2 main races that every triathlete aspires to go to.
Ooh, that's a bingo.
Even before they announced the extra slots, they were already doing more roll downs than usual. But then they added a couple hundred extra spots for ladies, which, by the way, I'm all for gender equality in sports. Half of the time, the women's races are more exciting anyways. Sorry, dudes. I also think the ladies deserve their own day. So 2 days of racing just makes sense. But the cost to do Kona in 2022 was around $1,050, and now it's going up to $1,400 in 2023. That's nearly double the cost of the average Ironman race, which when I say it out loud, kind of makes me want to throw up a little bit. So they're essentially getting 1 athlete for the price of 2. The business owner in me says, chapeau, Ironman. The athlete and coach in me says, you mother. But interestingly enough, Kona doesn't want more people there. What appeared to be a successful 2 days of racing, minus the early warning signs that the people of Hawaii weren't really thrilled with us coming there, ended up what I imagine was like a really bad breakup via text, where they didn't really even have the decency to like do it in person and they just like used emojis. So we're back to present day, and the split's gonna happen no matter what. The ladies will remain in Kona in 2023, which means, gentlemen, book your tickets early. I have a feeling that the underpants run is gonna be a little bit better this year. What? I'm just saying, odds are good. As for the guys, well, you'll find out soon enough. When? I don't know. Whenever they find a place. Where? Well, there's been some options thrown around. It's not like people have to plan a year in advance for these things. I mean, you do have to cut Ironman a little slack. They just left home and Hawaii sent them a text saying, "We like you, just not all your friends." If you want some good toilet reading, go back and check out Jan Frodeno's post from early December. It basically tells the tale of the whole scenario from the pro men's side of the deal. But the way I see it, Ironman is a business and it has to do what it thinks it's best to stay afloat and improve its bottom line. But they can't ignore what's best for the people who keep the lights on for them, the age group athlete. They also can't pretend like Kona is not the race that everyone aspires to do. If I were a male age group athlete looking to qualify for the Ironman World Championships, I would skip the years that didn't qualify me for Kona. A part of me, as much as I really hate saying this out loud, think that it's better that we just pull everyone out of Kona and we find a place that is more suited and willing and welcoming to the 2-day format. But let folks know where it's going to be at least a year in advance. Like the pandemic, we'll eventually forget about Kona. Or Kona will say, "We were acting kind of irrationally," and they'll welcome us back with open arms. The old curmudgeon and Kona purist in me says, well, cut the spots and make it harder to qualify again. Just keep the men and women's spots equal. Splitting it does put a lot of strain on the pros. It really throws off a yearly training cycle. Think about it. You can't train properly if you don't know where and when you're going to travel and the conditions in that location. And there are a lot of triathlon power couples out there that are going to end up shelling out a few thousand extra dollars trying to go to 2 different World Championship events, one to race and one to support. That, or they're only going to do one or the other, or neither, because it's too expensive. So what good comes out of all this? Well, I see it as an opportunity for one of the other big names to slide in and maybe start a North American or World Championship event at a different distance, longer than an Olympic distance, but shorter than a full Ironman. Few names come to mind with big opportunities to become the next big brand in triathlon. I think the key there is to make the distance attainable for the average human to train for. And ultimately, this could reignite the sport of triathlon. Or we can all agree to take our $800, $1,000, $1,400 worth of an entry fee and spend it supporting local events that ultimately grow the sport and give organizations like Ironman a reason to keep these massive World Championship caliber events in the US. If I were them, I would target areas where triathlon participation was the highest, regardless if it's a cool tourist town. I totally understand the history, and I used to be a Kona purist myself. And I'm not saying that triathlon participation isn't high in Hawaii, but if they aren't interested in the growth of the sport, then we as triathletes need to move on and keep pushing the sport forward. My hope is that those of you in the US who have spent the time and the money year after year going to Kona can repurpose some of those resources to helping local events succeed. That can be through participation, sponsorship, or even just volunteering. Because look, without opportunities for people to test the great sport of triathlon, the sport is doomed. Such a small percentage of athletes who jump straight into long course actually stick with the sport more than one season. I see it year after year. You have to learn to love the sport. Love the community. And remember, short course is not a crime. All right, that's all I got. If you have thoughts, feelings, or just think I'm a total idiot, pop a comment below. I live in a household full of females. I got thick skin. Thanks for watching, and as always, trust your training.